back to the podcast. Hi, welcome. Hi, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're having a good day, evening, night, morning, flight, walk, run, whatever.
Yeah, it's hot as hell in Florida. I'll tell you that right now.
It is, I don't know what it is outside. I haven't left the house in like 2 days.
Yeah, I went for my 2 mile walk at 6:45. So
It's
came back. It was beautiful, but now it's too damn hot. Excuse the language.
79 here. It's going to be 84 at its
Oh,
highest.
okay, that's good.
So chilly for you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm gonna have to get a jacket. You're right.
So, all right. So you have a topic that you want to get into. Before you do, I realize I totally forgot I was going to tell you this before we started. I wanted to just say this very quickly. We don't need to get into it. But for those who don't know, last weekend, two rappers swept the internet because of their beef. And it was Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm going to keep this super, super brief. If you want to look it up yourself, you can. There's going to be a lot
Hmm.
of information to understand and learn, but if you're interested, I highly recommend. This is a 10-year feud that's been going on. Kendrick Lamar has expressed his distaste for Drake for literally a decade. A couple weeks ago, Drake and J. Cole dropped a song, and Kendrick didn't like it, so he responded with a song, and it snowballed into beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner for rap
Ah,
against Drake.
ah.
Drake is also has been accused of having ghostwriters, is also a very poppy, musically person. Kendrick Lamar is a Pulitzer Prize winner for his rap music, as well as I believe, has gang affiliations. And the reason I say he has gang affiliations is because in these disses, Drake tries to call Kendrick soft and like not a part of these things. Meanwhile, everything that Drake gets called, that's what he is. The reason why this was such like a big ordeal is because Kendrick Lamar went very out of his way, not out of his way, but he was very bold with what he said. He
Yeah,
outwardly called Drake
a
uh, a
pedophilia.
pedophile
Wow,
and
yeah.
a variety of other things. And it got so bad that two things occurred as of the last. It's widely known across the internet that Kendrick Lamar demolished Drake, right? Anyone who says otherwise genuinely didn't understand the lyrics. Um, because the proof is in the pudding. Kendrick Lamar calls him out on pedophilia, and then Drake goes, I didn't bother with Millie Bobby Brown. No one brought up Millie Bobby Brown except him. He
Yeah,
he literally self-perjures multiple times. So,
yeah,
but the result of this beef,
yeah.
two things occurred. One, someone drove by and shot Drake's house. So now there's an investigation involved in his house with the shooting, but with other things as well. Number two, Universal Music Group had to step in and get involved with Drake and Kendrick because what Kendrick said was so influential to Drake's label that Universal Music Group had to step in and say, hey, we would like you to retract your statement about Drake being a pedophile. Which is insane because if you think about all the other rappers who make comments and responses about killing people or doing things or saying things, Drake has multiple rap songs where he talks about how hot a high school girl is when he's well above the age of high school. None of that gets to the higher ups, but Kendrick Lamar's lyrics did. So all that to be said, it was a very crazy weekend for people involved in this culture. And it was very entertaining. And for someone like me who is not heavily involved in this culture, I got myself involved. That's how like influential and big this was. Um, I sat down for a couple hours and just learned all the lyrics of what was going on because Kendrick Lamar truly has too much knowledge. He's there's a reason he won a Pulitzer. It makes sense. Um, so I just wanted to share that because it was a current event that happened over the past few days.
Well, Peter, God bless you, because with all the crap that's going on in the world,
I
you took
know.
the you took the time to review a fight between two rappers.
Well, hold on. Let's
I
be
don't
clear.
know.
I took a break from all the other stuff because that other
Oh,
stuff we can
okay.
talk about. That stuff I focus on the daily. That's daily work. 2 hours of my day, 2.5 hours of my day on a Sunday to learn this stuff is nothing. So
Oh,
let's be clear on that. This is not a trading system here.
yeah, I was before we get to our podcast, I was listening to The Bone on iHeartRadio yesterday, and they must have done an hour segment on this, and they said that Drake intentionally, if I heard it correctly, gave Lamar false
That's
information.
what he claims, yes. But
Yes.
it becomes
Yeah.
if you follow all the stuff that happened, it's very,
Yeah.
very, very apparent that
Uh,
it's him covering his own ass because everyone
uh,
goes, okay, so you claim to leak this information. So you planned, Drake, for the entire internet to think that you're a pedophile. You
yeah.
planned that. That's your plan.
Yeah.
Your plan
Yeah.
was to trick Kendrick Lamar and the internet and everyone who follows you into thinking you're a pedophile. That was
Yeah.
your
Just
plan, like,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
a variety of other things too, because Kendrick revealed that Drake is hiding a second child, and the night that that diss track dropped, Drake was on the defense. He was saying, "No, if you have the evidence, come and find it. Like, bring her to me. I'll quit my job and I'll work for you." Like all this stuff. But then
Oh, a
a
bunch of
day
crap.
later, a day later, claims that it was planted information. If
Yeah.
uh, Drake didn't provide any form of evidence if that it was planted. You'd think if he planted evidence, right? If it was a mole, that
Hmm.
he would bring proof up by the end of the song, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to it, and it was, excuse me, it was very entertaining.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
I'm glad you found it entertaining.
bookend on that. So now let's move forward with the we can move forward with the topic.
Okay. So the topic I chose to share with you that we'll talk about is love and sex. Uh, what is the difference? And I looked it up and a lot of definitions, and I just threw it away. Um, Too technical. To me, love is a long-term commitment to one's heart, and sex is fulfilling a desire or need for the moment. That's how I define the two. What do you think?
If we are distinguishing the fact that in this context that love is in reference to what the act of sex, yes, because you can like love someone, like I can love my sister, but I'm not doing that kind of love. So I'm clarifying for the podcast. We're talking about love, that kind
And
of love.
yes, love and sex. What's the difference?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I think I'm no, I don't need to get semantic about it because I was gonna say I would consider it's almost like a square is a rhombus and but a rhombus isn't square, right? I think that like love can be sex, but sex can't it isn't. No, that
Are you having a problem? Okay.
I'm thinking of too many thoughts at once. That's why too many concepts are coming in all at the same time.
You want me to move on?
No, let me sit on this for a minute. Hold on. I think the definition is highly important to defining the values in every individual's eyes. I think if you define sex as something that is casual and just sort of neutral, then obviously it's not love. But there are people who consider sex to strictly be of love, where they don't have sex unless it is of love to some degree. There are some people who have sex and it's just for the pleasure and there is no love in it. So I think it is extremely important to identify for the personal value and the personal perspective of what you define as the sex and the love. Um, and so, yeah, I think I think I'm overcomplicating this to say that it is very much a perspective thing because these words have multiple meanings and these words have been used to have been used to create different meanings, and it's all perspective based. So
Mhm.
it can be a little difficult to define.
Yeah, different people will define it differently.
Yes.
The person who goes to a bar, the people who goes to a bar, whether it's a male or female, and they're looking for sex, and it's a one night stand, it's not love, it's sex. If they are looking, if they've been dating for a while and they're having sex and they feel this is leading to a long term commitment because what they feel in their heart, there's a difference. Got it? Make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, many hundreds of years ago, uh, sex has changed. Um, they used to put chat.
Not really.
Well, let me don't step on my punchline.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They used to put chastity belts on women because, especially little princesses and the royal family and such,
Uh-huh.
because they did not want them to become
Yes.
impure. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Now, in my day when I was younger, and again, I reiterate, I'm going to be 80 in July. Over each decade, things have changed. When I was a young man, uh, and I got married very young, a first wife, uh, women basically wanted to get married, have a family, and uh, I do not believe men. I don't know about women. I didn't have any sisters, but I don't believe the parents talk very much about sex to their children. They skimmed it.
Yeah.
Their father would say, you know, I never even heard of a prophylactic when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
You know, but we're going, and then um, many of the wars broke out. World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. Many of our soldiers went over and they had children from unprotected sex and left their children there. And that wasn't, that might have been what they thought was love, but some went back, some didn't. Um, Things have changed. Now, we were told in my day, the girls were told, a lot of them, not before marriage.
Hmm.
Don't give the milk. Don't give the milk before you sell the cow.
Hmm.
That old saying. Not between different religions. You
Hmm.
don't you don't go out, have sex if you're not the same religion. And certainly not between two races. You know, and not between two different genders. I mean, we never even talked about
You mean same, you
homosexuality.
mean the same genders, because the point is they have, that was the original, is that it had to be two different.
No, I meant
Not not
yeah,
between the same genders, because if they're different genders, that's the point.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Uh,
that's what you're getting at. I I understand what you were trying to say, but I
yeah,
needed just so you know, yeah.
yeah. And you know, a lot of men. I wrote a poem, and it's on TikTok, and it said, you know, basically, a male saying to his girlfriend, "Don't rush me.
Hmm.
Don't. I know what you want. I know what you put before me, but what you put before me could destroy me. So don't rush me, girl." A lot of men in my day uh, didn't want to get married. They wanted to, you know, sample the field. You know, I used to say uh, it was like going out there. It was like having chocolate, different chocolates, different fruits in a bowl. That's after my first marriage when I got divorced. Uh, my first marriage was my high school sweetheart. So I got married young, and I thought I was in love. I probably was. Uh, but um, as I became a bachelor, I realized there are a lot of women out there, and still women weren't given the respect that they needed or deserved. And you'd go to a bar and you'd or wherever you went, and you'd have a one night stand, and it was all generated by, you know, men being sometimes being deceitful. I i think I mentioned in the previous podcast that a friend of mine, after 2 3 dates, would tell his date that I love you and we're going to get married. And when he got what he wanted, he dropped her and went on like a honeybee would go on to the next flower. And that is, to me, totally respectful. Eric Siegel
You said
in 19,
disrespectful, right?
yes.
Okay, I you cut out for like a split second, so I thought you said respectful at first.
Yeah, I just say this and then I'll let you, and then you can come in.
Yeah.
In 1970, Eric Siegel, uh, a very respected author, an analyst, an Ivy League professor, wrote the number one book, I think, was called Love Story. And they later uh, made a movie from it. And one of his biggest sayings was, "Love means never having to say you are sorry." And I look at that today. In those days, I says, "Boy, how sensitive! You never have to say you're sorry." Today, you don't say you're sorry, you're getting divorced. You better be more respectful. If you do something wrong and you love somebody, you should say you're sorry. Uh, and times have changed. And uh, in those, again, in the 1970s and earlier, parents put a lot of pressure on women to get married. If you didn't get married by the time you were 25 and give them grandchildren, you were considered on the way to being an old maid.
Hmm.
Today, today women are are perhaps more intelligent than men, or as intelligent as men. They hold down jobs that are as important as men. They're underpaid, but they get jobs as men have, and they help support a family. But in going back 50 years or longer, the man was the breadwinner. The woman stayed in the kitchen. She knocked out babies, baked bread, and cooked, and that was satisfying. So, you know, if she had an ability to keep her husband happy sexually, because sex is important in a marriage, um, the marriage might last. 50% of marriages end up in divorces. um, because marriage is more than sex. It's sharing ideas, sharing values, uh, sharing the ability to talk to one another and giving each other space. And I could list a whole longer group of things that are important. And still, even after doing that, you can get divorced. So you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah. A couple things to address. One, at the very beginning, you talk about chastity belts. I laughed because you said, things are different. And I said, things are not so different because people still use chastity belts. It's just not for princesses. It's
Oh,
it's for
yeah, you're right.
it's a very specific community of people who are into certain things. So
You're right.
those devices are still here. They're still around. They're just repurposed.
You're
Um,
right. You're right.
so that's why when you said that, I said, well, it's not so different. We've just sort of renamed things or just doing the same things just for different reasons. Um, let's also add a marker here at the beginning. All the stuff that happened, having forcing women to stay in the kitchen, not marrying outside of a religion, out of a race, or out of an occupation, all that is bad. Absolutely, you should have the freedom to do what you want, 100%, in every sense of the word. Uh, just that's more not because you said that. I'm just making that as a blanket statement so that it's out on the table, so that there's no concepts. Um, if you want to marry outside your religion, you want to marry outside your race, you want to marry outside any of these things out of your beliefs entirely, that's on you. You can do it. Good for you. You should have that ability to do that. Because
Yes.
anything less than that is a problem. Uh, the other thing I wanted to bring up was you talking about how, oh, like parents used to get mad if you didn't procreate by like 23. Couple reason.
25,
What? Yeah,
25,
yeah,
I think.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, give or take.
Yeah.
But part of the reason for that is a few things. One, life expectancy was a lot lower. Um,
Mm.
obviously, like 20 years is not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking like 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years ago when expectations for kids were a lot earlier. That's also because life expectancy was a lot earlier too. Um, as much as we have a lot of health problems going on in the world, let alone America, we still have historically a pretty high life expectancy compared to years back. So that affects it. Also, slightly political here because it's America and the capitalist system needs workers for it to continue working. Um, it is important and imperative that we teach people to procreate so that they can have workers of the future to provide services for these major companies. That's also why you see it now in America, where it's such a point of problem that they will bring up how birth rates are low. It shouldn't necessarily matter that the birth rates are low unless it affects the companies and the industries. So the mentality of having to have a child by a certain age or at all is specifically pushed by whether it's government or these companies or whatever, as well as societal norms because of life expectancy being lower at the time. Um, in terms of, wow, I lost it. I literally said in terms of, and I watched the words fall off a cliff. Um, in terms, I don't remember it. It's gone. That's amazing. I don't know what just happened to me today. Um,
Do I have to have you tested?
Yeah, you might. Oh my God, what the hell? I can't remember it for the life of me. I have no idea where that sentence was going. Um, wow. I'm gonna try and start a new one. Uh, 50% of marriages end in divorce. That is something that is a symptom of our own doing. That's sort of a self-destructive response because we uh, as humans, or let alone in America, we don't put proper values into our school systems. And when I say proper values, I mean genuinely understanding who we are as people, how to navigate our emotions, how to navigate our feelings, how to develop and grow as people, and not just be cubicle workers or not just be um, people built for a machine. We are humans and we are complex and diverse. And instead of learning how to navigate those things, we spend ample time in school doing unnecessary things or things that aren't helpful. Like I never learned how to change a tire or do taxes or balance my checkbook or anything like that in school. But I can promise you that I learned about the Ottoman Empire for 6 years in a row.
I thought you were going
So,
to say you learned about sex.
no, no, like they barely even teach that. And that also is its own problem as well, because that's
Yeah, yeah,
also why we have issues because there's no proper education for things like sex.
yeah.
Because we, again, live in a very heavily religious slash Christian country. Whether they say it's separated or not, it is not separated because the prudishness and the avoidance of talking about things like sex is not exclusive to our country, but it is a theme for our country as well as other superpowers that have a dominating religion. Because there are plenty of cultures and countries out there that don't have this problem. They openly talk about sex. You learn about it as early as like 11, the moment you're, or whenever you get puberty. So it depending on the culture, for us, it is very sparse to talk about. In the recent years, it's become a little more comfortable for some people, but also more strict for others because we've become more polarized. Um, but I would say the lack of knowledge and comes from lack of education, and the lack of education comes from older generations being in power to prevent us from being able to educate the kids because they think we shouldn't be talking about these things. And then they go, but why are the kids not having random babies? You should learn, you should know better. It's like, well, they can't know any better because they can't be taught better because they're not being allowed to be taught better.
Hmm.
So I think it's in terms of the divorce rates, it falls back on what I just said, which is like being taught how to navigate ourselves. Um, because people don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. And so they end up in relationships that they think they want, or they end up in positions where they end up marrying someone that just ends up being that way. And they end up divorcing because life is hard. And they they don't know how to regulate themselves. And they're with someone who also doesn't know how to regulate themselves. They get into a bunch of arguments and they don't want to work it out. So
Yeah. That's why I said with love is never having to say you're sorry is bullcrap.
I agree. If anything, love is about saying you're sorry as much as you can, because that way you guys can work it out. If you don't
Yeah,
say you're sorry, then you're not working it out and then you're divorcing. But if you say you're sorry and you guys can actually agree and come to terms on something and work together and apologize and move forward, that's what love is.
yeah.
That's it. That's what the love is fighting for it. It's
Hmm.
continuing on when it's worth it, when
Yeah,
it's actively worth it for the both of you, because it's
yeah,
that's also an important flag. Some people fight for a dead relationship. One has already given up, the other one's fighting. At that point, that's an important thing to let go of and to love yourself.
yeah,
But
yeah. You know what's good, Peter? I didn't mention this,
but
but right now, because of medications, uh, older people who are in love and been married for a long time can utilize medications to continue a healthy sex life and enjoy one another besides just sharing, going to restaurants and shows and talking about the kids. Uh, they can keep their sex life active, which is, a good thing, except when you have an 80-year-old man having, and his wife is younger and she knocks off a baby because he's still fertile and she's fertile and he's going to drop dead soon and leave her with a kid. But drugs have helped marriages last longer because in the olden days, uh, men and women would look at each other when they got older and say, if they remembered who they were and who they were married to, uh, they would look at each other and say, huh? I mean, Robert De Niro once, in one of his pictures, looked in a mirror and said, "Who is this old man?"
Yeah.
Now today, uh, like my hat says, I might be old, but I'm cool old, you know.
Yes.
And today, sex and love can be a great combination for people as they get older. But people get people in my day, and I don't know in your day if it still happens, get married because they feel they're in love. Am I right?
Yeah, I would hope that's like a majority of the people getting married.
But a lot of people say that I've heard, why get married if we don't intend to have children? We could just live together.
Because of tax purposes. Sometimes because the way America works, everything has a workaround or a financial gain or loss to it because that's what America does. And it may be financially good of you to get married because then you guys can get a different type of tax form or um,
Good point.
some type of whatever to your income tax, and it will aid in a mortgage, it'll aid in a rent, it'll aid in these things, um, and allow you
Yeah.
to live an easier life. So sometimes even if you may not want to go through the marriage or go through this legal thing of marrying, it may be financially, fiscally responsible of you to do so,
Hmm.
which is not the reason you should be getting married, but at the end of the day, that's what it is to be here.
Yeah.
Um,
I've always had a plan. My plan was this, because uh, we get married because of love, and because under my plan, it realizes that people change,
mhm.
and sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. My plan is that every 5 years, people have the right to renew or end their marriage without penalty. And therefore, they perhaps would work on their marriage harder because they would not take it for granted.
Mm.
What do you think? What do you think?
I like the base idea. I disagree with the execution. I don't think we need a renewal period. Um, I think it should just be easier to divorce. And just like there should the same way that there should be further education. This falls in line to what I was saying of like educating people on how to navigate themselves and their emotions and who they are. So that would aid in being able to divorce someone. Um, and also not pushing this agenda of when you marry someone, you are locked to this person for the rest of your life. Because that is true. People change their minds. You can spend 15 years with someone and go, hey, it's not working anymore. I have grown to be this person. You've grown to be that person. It's not of benefit. When we first met, we liked each other. We had a good time. It's not that way anymore. And a lot of people, because we are taught as a society that when you get married, that's it. You are not allowed to do or be or exist outside of this other person. You are now one, right? A lot of religions like to say that. It's they have become one. Your souls are now one. It's not necessarily true. And I think normalizing that, as well as just making divorce a little easier so that people who are unhappy don't have to prepare themselves for the mass undertaking that is tens of thousands of dollars through this divorce. Um,
And the effect,
assuming there's no problems, right? Assuming you both agree. Um,
yeah, but and assuming there are no children, because
yes,
divorce,
of course, absolutely. Well, right, but this is a very generalized comment
yeah,
I'm making because there's so many other caveats with kids, expensive
yeah,
items,
pets,
objects, if pets, right? There's so many caveats. So I'm speaking very generally because otherwise we could be here for 3 days getting into all the caveats.
yes,
But
yes.
I would argue I don't think having a 5 year renewal period is beneficial because it will create a timer for people and it will create a degree of feeling like they have to leave or they will be waiting to leave, right? They may be unhappy by year 3, but they stick it out till year 5. And all of those are just hindrances on people's lives and overall just not the best option, in my opinion. And I think it would be of benefit to simply just help people navigate who they are better and make it easier for a divorce so that when someone goes, hey, I'm no longer happy, I think you're still a great person. I'm just no longer happy and I want to do other things and see other people. It should be okay to say, I understand. Is there any way that we can work this out? No? Okay. You know, whatever, let's separate.
Yeah.
And having a sit down conversation and a serious conversation to say, because if the other person's still involved and still in love, they can go, well, what's going on? And then they can actually talk about it in a healthy manner because maybe they don't need to leave. Maybe they just need to change a habit, you know?
Y-
Um, but if it
Yeah.
doesn't work out, it should be a healthy enough conversation where the other person can sit down and go, I see. So we are at an impasse. I love you. I would love to be with you, but I recognize that this is not the direction you want to go, and this is the direction that I want to stay in. So by this conversation, we're gonna have to separate. Um, you know,
Or we can look to improve and go for another 5 years.
well, right, but that's why I'm arguing the 5 years is that adds a timer. Oh, actually, we're gonna take a quick pause. I gotta change the film on the camera. We got a couple of seconds, so we'll be right back. Hold on. All right, we're back. Hi.
Yeah. So getting back to sex and love, um, different meanings for different people. Uh, Now we have same-sex marriages, and uh, to me, if there is love involved, that is wonderful. People shouldn't frown on it, but then again, everybody's opinionated, and a lot of people are steered by um, religious beliefs as to whether it's the proper thing to do. To me, anytime you love someone or something, it's better than not. Um, So uh, I want to tell a little story. I think I told you this in the past about different religions. Our family was based on different religions. My your grandmother was a different religion than me, and we were happy for almost 41 years. Your mother's different religion than me. I don't know what religion you are, but I don't think you're the same as her, are you? No.
No.
So anybody uh, who loves one another, whether it's spiritually or sexually, has to have respect for the other person's beliefs. And a little story in my religion, very orthodox in the Jewish religion. There's orthodox, conservative, and then there's reserved, more or less reserved. And the Orthodox, uh, if you married out of your religion, parents would declare you dead. And to me, I once asked my grandmother why uh, this lovely lady I knew, I was a child, and she was beautiful, uh, was no longer welcome in the household, not my grandmother's household, but her sister's household. And my grandmother says she's dead. I says, what do you mean she's dead? Because she loved a man outside of her religion. Today, everything's accepted. If you watch TV, there's interracial marriages. There's interracial programs on TV with a husband and wife are
Mhm.
different. The kids are interracial. We have gay couples. We have everything that stems from love. I mean, uh, I think that in my day, when a male went out, he was on the hunt. He went to a bar or to a party, and he was on the hunt for a woman. She was fair game. I wasn't like that, more or less. Uh, a little bit, but not more. I was less because I was brought up, even though I didn't have a sister, to have respect for a girl as if she were my sister. But today, men and women are on the hunt. They
Hmm.
need they need sexual gratification,
Yeah.
and as I said, and nothing's wrong with it. And as I said in the beginning, uh, according to my definition, sex is fulfilling a desire or need for the moment, and love is a long time commitment to one's heart. You could have sex over and over again, and then you realize, oh my God, you know what? This isn't sex. I love this person. And things have changed, and they're going to continue to change. And now our last podcast was having an AI girlfriend, remember?
Yeah.
So a lot of things are going to change, Peter, right?
Yeah. We're gonna see some jabronis have love with a robot.
Yeah. Yeah. And the robot's going to be a dominant factor.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
yeah, I think I agree. I think the separation between the sex and the love is uh, I feel like it's just generally understood. Like I feel like I'm just explaining like what a nail does when you hit it with a hammer. Um,
oh, yeah, I can get into that one.
in terms of like it feels, at least it feels obvious to me, but I guess maybe to some people it may not be. It is a desire, but a longingness to be with that person in a different way that than something that casual sex would do. And I think casual sex is great. I think it's fine. I think by all means, do as much of it as you want. If you're one of those people, you got to go to these parties, go ahead, go for it. I'm all for it. Good for you guys. I won't be there, but good for you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It doesn't stop at your age, too. I
No, of course
mean,
not. Oh no, 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 no. No, you've got
yeah,
every demographic doing this. There's
yeah.
what the hell is it? It
I
reminded me
mean,
of
even
a
a,
YouTube video. There was a YouTube video, I think it's from Cut. It's a YouTube channel called Cut. And they always do these lineups of like, oh, guess who's out of these people, guess who's a rank these people based off their IQ, rank these people based off attractiveness, rank these people, guess the occupation to the person, guess the boyfriend to the person, right? All these different like games. One of them was guess the body count to the person. And there was 0, there was 1, there was 11, there was 50, and then there was 1800 plus.
wow,
And
wow.
and it turns out that one of the guys, if you've ever seen these videos, you know who I'm talking about. This guy goes to orgies regularly. Regularly. Like that's what his weekends are. Like people go bowling, he goes he goes to orgies. So
Hey,
he's got 1800 plus because he'll technically be in a room with 30 people, right? And if he's been doing this for 20 years, you do that often enough, those numbers get up there. So,
yeah,
like by all
yeah,
means, I
yeah.
won't be there, but I'm really happy that
Mhm.
you can do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Because
I, I,
because genuinely, if that's what you enjoy, if you
yeah,
come out of those every single time you do it, and you're like, no, that was a blast, the same way that like I would enjoy bouldering, or like longboarding, right? Whatever. If I come out of that, I'm like, wow, I just had a great session. Like it was cool, had a blast. It was wonderful. That's like great. I am ecstatic for you.
Mhm.
I'm glad that you found something that brings you that much joy, that you are so willing to do it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I yeah, I like two songs that explain certain things like Frankie Valli, I Can't Take My Eyes Off of You.
Yeah.
That shows a man's feeling about a woman. And then there's the opposite. She's a man eater. And we got a lot of man eaters out there. You know, what men used to do, women do. And women are just as aggressive or more aggressive
Well, also
as men. Yeah.
and what's interesting about that term man eater is I believe it's also taken on a new context um in the recent times. And I may be using an adjacent. I may be associating this to an adjacent word, but I believe also a man eater has referred to women who will not necessarily treat men the same way that women have been treated in the patriarchal society, but they will they're sort of the counter to a womanizer, right? So a womanizer is a man who will manipulate a woman or try and charm her by being overly charismatic, um, and through that charm will manipulate. The counter is a woman who sees through all of that and deflates that and consumes it like a black hole. And that is a term that I've heard, whether it's with specifically the word man eater or another type of man something involving women who are able to just penetrate through all that bull crap that men will spew sometimes to try and manipulate, to try and woo, because she'll be more of a realist or more of a um just whatever. She's able to combat that gross behavior.
Yeah, or basically it could be uh, a man who is highly aggressive, goes to a bar, use the same pickup lines. Woman's not interested. He won't go away, and she totally deflates his ego.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's yeah, you know. But again, times have changed, and it doesn't change that much. Also for older people. Uh, I'm going to be 80. I still remember my name. I still find myself where I want to go. Sometimes I get lost because I'm thinking about too many things at the same time. But there are, women who are widows, and they would look at me as a catch because I'm a sex symbol. And
Of course, obviously. Why
yeah,
the our audience is here for you.
yeah. And because I can remember my name and I can still drive and I could still see and I
Right?
could still walk without a walker. So I'm a catch.
Exactly.
Whereas, yeah. So I say this all in jest. To me, women are beautiful at all ages, and I respect them. I hope all people, whether it's same-sex marriages or marriages that last a few years or many years, I hope that the people appreciate what they have, because when it's gone, you may not get it back. So, love and sex. Uh, there's an old song, Love and Marriage, Love and Marriage. It's an institute you can't disparage. Let me tell you, brother, you can't have one without the other.
And then the TV show that preceded that was the exact opposite.
No, and we're not talking about Stepford Wives either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but that Stepford Wives wasn't a bad idea in its day, right?
No, what was the TV show that came the I know I can visualize the TV show, but uh for that preceded that song. Uh I just looked
Uh,
I just looked it up too. Hold on. I'm gonna find it in 3 seconds. Give me
yeah, while you're looking, Stepford
Married with Children. There it is. Married
married
with
with children.
Children
Yeah,
with
that
what's
was
his name?
yeah, that was
Ed
a
O'Neill, Ed
yeah,
O'Neill, Katie Seagal, yeah,
that
Christina Applegate, and all them. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, that was a hoot. But you know, as long as everybody is happy, that's all that matters.
I think the scope of what this is absolutely go for what brings you joy and what makes you happy. I think the part that needs to be developed more, whether it's in society or among each other or whatever, is the acceptance and the guidance of being able to manage one's emotions so that if you are not happy, you can communicate such things and be able to move forward and not feel
Yeah,
stuck in a relationship that you don't want to be in. So,
yeah,
because you should be happy. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to
yeah,
go for what they want, or
yeah.
at least try, right? They should
Yeah.
have the right to try.
Yeah, one of the greatest quotes. Well, it's not a quote. It's one of the greatest things I ever heard on a show, TV show, was a wife yells out to her husband in an argument, "You should go to hell." And he looks at her and says, "I am already there."
Mm,
You know,
hmm
so, so we don't want to see people that like that. That's why I had my 5-year plan, and that's why we have 50% divorces. But anyway, Peter, you're at a different stage in your life than me. Uh, and I wish you and people your age happiness, no matter how they seek it.
I agree. I agree. I hope everyone has the opportunity to find their happiness.
Yep. Well, I
So
have nothing more to say to you.
no, that's about it. We went from Kendrick to sex. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know why you did that, but okay.
He did it because Drake did it. Drake, Kendrick's been mad this whole time. He's had a 10-year long stick with him, but Drake poked the bear and he said, "I'm ready to play."
Ah, yeah, I don't like Drake anyway. So
So, but yeah, if you
I
uh
wouldn't, I wouldn't care if they decided to go 20 paces.
well, that may happen
That's
soon. That may
yeah.
happen soon with the way that these things are going. So we shall see what happens. I don't think any more responses are going to fly by back and forth. Uh, but if it does, it will be
Yeah.
surely thrown across the internet. So
Yeah, just keep Bobby Billy Brown's name out of it.
yeah, Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah,
Billy Bobby Brown.
she's that's a whole. There's so many issues with Drake. Where
Yeah.
we can't spend the time with this. There's
Yeah.
video footage of him kissing a
Yeah.
minor. There's
Yeah.
he's got lyrics about it. He texted Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, we don't need to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how things have changed, and then
And then we
unless
can
you want to
finish
wait.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. My first marriage didn't work out, and I dated my first wife. Uh, I was 17, she was 15. I was 18, she was 16. I was 19, she was 17. So technically, under today's rules and regulations, I dated a minor when I
Yes.
was an adult,
Yes.
and I could go to jail.
Yes.
So things changed. That's all I wanted to say. That's it.
Yeah, they do change.
Yep. So until next time,
Until the next one.
this is Grandpa signing out and wishing
And
you all good health.
and this is Peter signing out, wishing you all a happy orgy if you go to one.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. A lot of love and a lot of sex.
Yes. All right. Peace out.